For 180 feet above the desert floor stands a structure that has defied time for over 4,500 years. But what if I told you something hidden inside it hasn't been seen by human eyes since the day it was sealed? Not long ago, researchers sent a robotic camera deep into a narrow passage inside this ancient pyramid. Everything was going smoothly until the robot suddenly stopped. Right in front of it was a solid stone slab. No markings, no handle, just a perfectly sealed barrier. And what lay behind it could rewrite history. Scientists believed this wasn't just another wall. They suspected it was hiding something untouched for thousands of years. So they made a bold decision. They equipped the robot with a drill. Slowly, carefully, the machine bored a tiny hole through the ancient stone. Then they inserted a camera through that opening. And what they saw on the other side was something no human had seen in 4,500 years. We'll come back to that, because to understand how incredible that moment is, you need to understand what this pyramid really is. Egypt is home to 138 pyramids. They've survived earthquakes, violent storms, thousands of years of erosion, and not one of them has shifted from its place. But one stands above them all, the Great Pyramid, a structure so massive, it still leaves modern engineers speechless. Its base covers around 13 acres. That's big enough to fit roughly 9 football fields inside. It's built from about 2.3 million stone blocks. Some of those stones weigh as much as 50 tons. That's about the weight of a fully loaded semi-truck. In total, the pyramid weighs around 6 million tons. To put that into perspective, that's comparable to stacking multiple modern skyscrapers into a single structure. And it was built without modern tools. So the question is, why? Why would an ancient civilization invest so much time, effort, and precision into building something like this? And more importantly, how did they even do it? Challenge 1. Perfect alignment. Let's start with direction. Each side of the pyramid is almost perfectly aligned with the 4 cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. And we're talking near-perfect precision. Today, we use GPS, compasses, and satellite data to achieve that level of accuracy. But 4,500 years ago, none of that existed. Experts believe ancient architects may have used the stars, specifically, stars that circle the Earth's poles. By tracking their movement across the night sky, they could determine true north with incredible accuracy. Simple in theory, but achieving that level of precision, that's extraordinary. Challenge 2. Leveling the ground. Creating a perfectly level foundation. The pyramid sits on about 13 acres of land. If even a small portion of that ground was uneven, the entire structure could collapse under its own weight. So how did they level it? One theory suggests they used water. They may have dug channels around the construction site and filled them with water. Since water naturally finds its level, they could use it as a guide to identify high and low spots. Then, using simple tools like chisels and hammers, they carefully carved away the uneven areas. Another possibility? A basic leveling tool, a rope with a stone hanging from the center. If the stone lined up perfectly, the surface was level. No lasers, no machines, just ingenuity. Challenge 3. Cutting massive stones. Now comes the part that really raises eyebrows. Cutting the stones. These weren't small bricks. Some weighed up to 50 tons. And yet, they were cut into precise shapes, so perfectly that even today, you can barely slide a piece of paper between them. How? Experts believe they used copper tools, but not pure copper. Copper alone is too soft to cut stone. So they likely mixed it with other elements like arsenic to make it stronger. Then, using wooden hammers, they repeatedly struck the tools against the stone. Hour after hour, day after day, until the shape was perfect. It wasn't fast. It wasn't easy. But it worked. Challenge 4. Transportation. Cutting the stones was only half the battle. They also had to move them. And here's the crazy part. Many of these stones came from a quarry over 150 miles away. So how do you transport 50-ton blocks without trucks or roads? The answer: water. The ancient Egyptians used the Nile River. They loaded these massive stones onto large wooden boats and floated them downriver to the construction site. But loading and unloading those stones? That likely required hundreds of workers working in perfect coordination. Challenge 5. Lifting the stones. Now imagine this. You've got millions of stones at the base of the pyramid. How do you lift them nearly 500 feet into the air? There were no cranes, no engines, no hydraulics. The leading theory: ramps, straight ramps, zigzag ramps, even spiral ramps wrapping around the pyramid. Workers would pull the stones upward using ropes, relying purely on human strength. It would have taken thousands of workers, years of effort, and incredible organization. Challenge 6. Inside the pyramid. But the real mystery lies inside. Hidden within the pyramid are chambers and passageways. And here's the shocking part. The inner chambers aren't made of limestone. They're made of granite. Granite is one of the hardest stones on Earth. Even today, cutting it requires powerful machinery. So how did ancient builders do it? One theory suggests they used a saw, without teeth. Instead of cutting directly, they added sand or gravel between the blade and the stone. As the saw moved back and forth, the abrasive particles slowly ground through the granite. It was slow, painfully slow. Cutting a single block could take months. But again, it worked. Now let's go back to that moment. The robot, the stone slab, the tiny hole, and the camera. When researchers finally looked through that opening, they expected to find a hidden chamber, treasure, artifacts, maybe even answers. But what they saw instead only deepened the mystery, because the truth is, we still don't fully understand why these pyramids were built, how many people it really took, or what secrets are still hidden inside them, and what that camera discovered behind the stone slab. That's a story for the next part. If this blew your mind, don't just scroll past. Hit like and subscribe button because the next secret might be even crazier.